The camp was silent, the air thick with fear and the stench of sweat and damp wool. Torches flickered, casting monstrous shadows over the faces of thousands of Roman legionaries. Tonight, they were not conquerors, but prisoners, waiting for judgment. Their line had broken in battle, some had fled. Now they awaited punishment. No trial, no plea. Roman discipline was absolute. The centurions and tribunes stood apart, grim and silent. The general emerged, his face set in stone. He spoke of duty, honor, and the disgrace of cowardice. His words stripped away their pride, leaving only dread. Then came the order. The failed cohorts were separated, surrounded by their comrades. The punishment was not flogging or execution for a few. It was something far worse. Decimatio, decimation, the removal of a tenth. A collective punishment so cruel it would haunt both the dead and the living. The men realized the night was no longer just dark. It was filled with the certainty of death. The silence was broken only by the wind, as the condemned waited for fate's verdict. The general's message was clear. Rome would be rebuilt from the wreckage of their failure. The legionaries gripped their shields, knowing their unit would be torn apart before it could be made whole again. The ritual would begin soon, and with it the transformation of men into instruments of the state. The torchlight flickered, illuminating faces twisted by terror and shame. The punishment would not just kill, it would unmake and remake them. The night of the black stones had begun. In the darkness, the fate of the legion, and every man within it, hung by a thread. Rome demanded obedience, and tonight it would have it. Decimation was a brutal lottery. The condemned were divided into groups of 10. Each man drew a stone, 9 white, 1 black. The black stone meant death. Chosen by chance, there was no appeal, no mercy. The 9 who drew white were ordered to kill the 10th, not by executioner's blade, but by their own hands, beating or stoning their comrade. This was psychological warfare, turning brothers into executioners. The survivors were bound by shared guilt, their unit shattered and reforged in trauma. Humiliation followed, forced to camp outside the walls, fed barley instead of wheat. They were outcasts, their honor stripped away. Only through future bravery could they hope for redemption. Decimation was not just execution, it was total psychological demolition. The randomness meant no one was safe. The fear of the black stone was a powerful motivator. The survivors carried the memory and the shame forever. The ritual destroyed the old unit and forced a new, haunted brotherhood. Rome's message was clear: cowardice would be purged, no matter the cost. The ordeal left scars deeper than any wound. Decimation was Rome's most terrifying tool. Decimation was a relic, rarely used, until Crassus revived it. In 71 BC, Rome was humiliated by Spartacus's slave rebellion. Crassus found his legions broken and afraid. After a disastrous defeat, he chose terror over mercy. He decimated the cohorts that had fled, forcing hundreds to kill their own. The effect was immediate. Fear of Crassus replaced fear of the enemy. His army, forged in terror, became relentless and disciplined. They crushed Spartacus, proving the power of fear. Crassus demanded obedience, not love, backed by the most extreme punishment. His ruthless example became legend. How could such horror make a unit stronger? The survivors of decimation were forever changed, bound by shared guilt and trauma. Their old identity was destroyed. A new one formed in the aftermath. Driven by shame and a need for redemption, they fought with reckless bravery. Death on the battlefield seemed less terrifying than the black stone. Their bond was forged in nightmare, not camaraderie. They fought to escape their ghosts, not for glory or love of Rome. Commanders saw this as success, a broken unit made effective by brutality. But the cost was immense. Men became expendable, reshaped or discarded as needed. The legion's strength came from shared suffering, not inspiration. Rome's machine demanded sacrifice, and Decimation delivered it. Decimation's logic outlived Rome. Throughout history, desperate commanders revived group punishments to enforce discipline. In the 30 Years' War, mercenaries faced similar lotteries. French and Paraguayan armies adapted the method. Even in World War I, Italian generals executed random soldiers to terrify the rest. The randomness made every man vulnerable. Failure became personal. Such punishments restored order, but poisoned trust between officers and men. Armies ruled by terror were brittle, lacking true morale. Decimation was a tool of desperation, not confidence. Its legacy is one of short-term discipline and long-term damage. The practice revealed the limits of fear as a motivator. True strength could not be built on terror alone. Decimation was the last resort of failing leadership. Decimation faded as armies modernized. Soldiers became citizens, not expendable subjects. Executing one's own men became politically and morally unacceptable. Leaders learned that fear could not create true resilience or initiative. Modern armies thrive on trust, purpose, and teamwork, not terror. The story of Decimation warns us. Strength built on fear is fragile. Real endurance comes from meaning and mutual respect. The soldiers of Rome had no control, only the chance of a black stone. Today, we find strength by reclaiming agency, supporting each other, and facing darkness together. True resilience is forged not by terror, but by trust.